Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, it is Thursday night. You know what that means. I'm Dan Marty.
Marty Jannetty.
Brand new Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty is now. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the fans just haven't asked for it, they have demanded it.
This August, we're headed back to Tampa for Wrestle House 2.
Wrestlemania weekend, we brought you Sinister Minister James Mitchell, TJP, Demolition Smash, Al Snow, Dutch Mantel Zeb Coulter, JTG of Prime Time, and WWE Hall of Famer Gerald Briscoe for in-depth interviews and live interactive cyber autograph signings.
And if you want our Wednesday Night Wrestling Insider Special Edition episodes to continue, we need your help to bring these superstars' careers and lives to life.
Bringing you free content 7 days each week is an expensive proposition between appearance fees, air travel, renting the house, the equipment, and everything that goes in to a week of shooting. We can't do it without you.
As we prepare to return to producing live in-ring events, help us bring you the superstars and legends of yesterday and tomorrow by visiting Indiegogo now and check out some of the great rewards.
Wrestling fans, it's going to be a wild week in Tampa the first week in August. Get ready for Wrestle House 2.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, the summer is heating up here on Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty. We're back in our traditional time slot. We got a lot of great talk coming your way throughout the summer, as Marty and I have discussed. Some old friends, some new friends, as all roads lead to Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts, Saturday night, November the 13th, for our Back to the 80s WrestleFest, which doubles as our 20th anniversary. Jackie the Joke Man is in the booth right now. He's ready to set up a sleeping bag out front so he can be the first one in the building, even though he's going to be there helping, I'm sure. It's going to be that big of a night.
It's going to be sold out, though, for definitely.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, baby. We continue to roll through the year 1990 as these great fans continue to join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. If they are Patreon folk, they may have seen this episode before the premiere on Thursday night.
Is that how that's happening? You can actually see the show from Patreon?
They get it early, yeah.
Oh,
they get it
I didn't
early.
know that.
And they don't get the ads on the screen. They get the full screen.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's what I got to do then.
Yeah.
Because I hate all that crap around it.
Well, that's what, if you're a member of the Patreon, if you're part of the family, no ads, early free access, Patreon exclusive videos, you get treated like a king or a queen because we love you. Yeah. Even if you're a fan that watches on YouTube or other platforms, we love you too. But if you're a Patreon member, there's a little bit more in the heart, baby. Just a little bit more. The link can be found again in the description box below. But we continue to plow through the year 1990 in the world.
Just to say,
wrestling.
How the guy, there's one dude in Australia keeps telling me stuff. Then I'm like, oh, what's that about? And then I'll see the show and I'm like, how did he see it before it aired? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Michael, I believe. Yeah, Mike, a good man. Yeah. He's been a long-time fan of the show. And, of course, we have to thank our moderators. You know, we forget to do that sometimes. But Slick Rick B. up in Maine, Maria Davis, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's finest, and your good friend, a woman that goes by many aliases. Some call her Tina.
Tania.
Some call her Tania. Some call her Smokey. And I accidentally, for many months on here, called her Stoney. But you know what? We're going to figure it out.
She does have. And
we're on to you.
One, too.
We're on to you. What's that now?
She got another one on Facebook. I forgot what it is.
She has another alias?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I always worry about somebody's, on Facebook or something like that.
Do you think?
With 5 or 6 different, sites.
Should we take away her moderation privileges?
No, she's pretty good.
All right. Well, I think she's first class.
I do too.
But you might know her better than I do.
We ain't gonna let that out here.
Oh, all right. We don't want to get Annie jealous.
You're Annie.
Not my Annie. Please. Not my Annie. All right, back to the WWF in 1990. We discussed the Royal Rumble in your backyard. About 4 hours south in Miami, Florida, hosted the WWF Superstars taping the next day. No major angles shot for you for TV, but a very interesting dark match. You guys took on the Powers of Pain as you had been working the loop with them, but
That was that next day? Or
you worked a dark match with them at the Superstars taping the next day. After the match, as the Powers of Pain beat you down, you and Shawn were saved by World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion Hulk Hogan to set up a future match in Miami with Hogan and the Boss
is that
Man.
the one that's all over the internet right now? They got a picture of Hulk picking me up.
It
Shawn.
must have been, as I can't think of any other angles that you guys did.
I'll send that to you. Remind me, though, to insert.
How the hell do you see all these things?
The same way you do somehow. But yeah, that was all over the internet recently.
Yeah?
There's a picture of Hulk helping me up, and Shawn's on the other side helping me. But for some reason, I thought that was in either Philadelphia or the Gardens. But I know.
Well, not to
I know
say
we did
that
go around the loop with
not
that.
to say that this didn't
was-
happen, but this one angle was shot in Miami because they wanted to build the next house show, which was Hogan and Boss Man against the Powers of Pain, and Hogan came out to save you guys. What was it like, at least in that instance, to have the power of Hulkamania come to your side? What was the energy like in Miami?
You know what we probably did, because I've said before that we did this a lot. If you had a TV taping come up that was going to be, you were going to shoot a pretty good angle, there 3 or 4 or 5 days, sometimes even longer, according to how long it took you to get it down, they would have you doing that thing, either that match or that little episode, little skit, whatever it be, to get it down good for the TV. So the TV wasn't your first take, basically. And I know we did it in Philadelphia. Shawn and I were out in the match. We had gotten over, and the cheer from the Spectrum. Remember, it used to be the Spectrum.
Yeah.
That the crowd, just at pop. We were like, "Oh, this is nice. This and that." And then they called Hogan. We came out. There was our big pop. And then Hogan, and oh my God, our hair would stand up on arm and everything, because it was unbelievable how loud. And you could actually feel a little electricity going through you. Like, you take the old 9-volt battery, put it on your tongue. It was like that. You feel it through your whole body. That's the energy that was being fed into the ring. And Shawn and I looked at each other. Do you feel it? I said, yeah. I mean, it was.
You did a 6-man with Hogan?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, and the Spectrum, and I would imagine that's what was the setup for, you're saying?
The setup was for nothing. The Powers of Pain
that was just a one-time?
in Miami at a TV taping. Powers of Pain beat you guys down pretty bad after the match, and Hogan did the save, and to set up the next house show in Miami, which was Hogan and Boss Man. No, it was Hogan and Boss Man against Powers of Pain. I haven't come across in my research this match you speak of, but maybe we'll get there as time goes on.
I'll find it too, yeah.
We'll figure. We always figure it out, Marty. That's one thing about us. We're like two detectives.
But I do know the feeling, though, that was a one. I've never. Shawn probably has, since he went ahead and climbed so high. But that was the only time that and a little bit, but not as much. The time Shawn and I wrestled each other in Denver, that one I always talk about. You could feel that little vibration going through your body. But when Hulk, and that was just to come out to the ring. It was, we were amazed. We were looking at each other like, you feeling that?
Well,
you feel it?
They had their issues when they wound up working together in 2005. That didn't go over so well. What was supposed to be a long program, which turned into one match where Shawn looked like one of those bouncy balls you get at the supermarket.
But
he almost made Hulk to look foolish.
Yeah, I thought so. No, because he did. He was taking exaggerated bumps.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. Did you give him a boot? And then Shawn jumped like 3 feet over the top rope. I'm like, come on, man. But that's their thing.
Well, you know what? Based upon the way it was explained to me, I could see Shawn being insulted by that. Wouldn't you?
I don't know. How was it explained?
Well, originally it was going to be a 3-match series at the SummerSlam, the September pay-per-view, and Survivor Series. Hogan was going to go over at SummerSlam. At the September pay-per-view, it was going to be a cage match with Kevin Nash interfering to help Shawn win. And then they were going to do the blow-off at Survivor Series. I think Hogan was going to go over again. Hogan didn't even want to lose any. Hogan wanted to go over all 3 times, and that's when Shawn said, well, we'll stick with SummerSlam. And you know what? They lost out on some, I imagine, some good paydays. That pay-per-view did a very good buy rate back when pay-per-view buy rates were important before the advent of WWE Network. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was kind of a dream match that kind of turned to, I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but it was just a little awkward.
A lot, actually, for me, because I know what I'm supposed to be seeing, and that wasn't it.
Yeah.
And I can't say why, because I know. That was, what year was that? Because Shawn.
2005.
Yeah, I should have been when he'd already changed a little.
Oh yeah,
bit,
he
though.
did.
He had changed
Yeah,
by
he
then.
was a man of faith at that point, but
That-
he didn't
yeah,
want to
but
take.
that don't stop certain
He didn't want to
things.
eat his vitamins, I guess. He
But,
said his prayers, but
I just know Hulk. At one point, I don't know. Yeah, he wasn't too fond of Shawn, and maybe that's because Shawn was. Had already been making the fun poking fun of. Remember when he went to NWO? In WCW, and they would do, dress like him and make fun of him and stuff like that. Him and Hunter when they were doing DX. Or do I got that time?
well, no, you have the timeline off because it's funny. Their pissing contest, it actually kind of culminated the following SummerSlam in 2006, which was here in Boston. After DX, of all people, they went over the McMahons. And on the way back to the locker room, Hunter and Shawn Michaels were doing the Hogan pose and the cupping of the year. And then, what I thought was kind of pissing on Randy Orton, in what was Hogan's final WWE wrestling match. He went over on Orton, he did the big leg drop, but instead of pinning a guy half his age that was in, the future of the company,
Right.
instead of going for the pin, he stood up and he did the DX thing. And then, at his age, he slowly got down and he pinned him. I thought that was insulting to Randy Orton.
Yeah,
One man's
I
opinion.
I could see Randy getting upset about it.
I
too.
don't know if Randy was. I'm just saying I thought it was, from my point of view,
Well,
I thought it was very insulting.
Yeah,
I know Reno Chastain wasn't very happy about it either.
Reno Chastain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a little hot. But I mean, why involve Orton in a situation like that?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just, but sometimes and this was where they still, yeah. You're getting back at the wrong person, basically, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
You're getting back at the wrong person.
I mean, he just as easily could have done that on his entrance, on his exit, but why?
Or
If
well,
Randy's going to put you over in his mid-20s, when he, in reality, would probably take Hogan pretty easily.
wasn't he doing the Starbreaker thing? He was beating all the veterans.
Oh, the Legend
The
Killer.
Legend
Yeah,
Killer.
yeah.
By then, or was that?
That was a little before, but it was still
Okay.
part of his gimmick. So I thought that was in poor taste. I think there's many ways he could have gone about trying to get a little.
Well, and I thought it was like you could have done that with an extra, but I thought about that and like, wait a minute, Hulk never and ever's wrestled with as Hulk Hogan. He's never had an extra, has he?
It's funny, as a trivia question, maybe to the fans in Boston if they want to throw it. I mean, to wrestling fans if they want to throw it out. At the end of Hogan's first big run in '93, his final WWF match in the United States was a house show here in Boston, him and Beefcake against Money Inc. And then his final match ever in WWE was that match we just mentioned at SummerSlam '06 against Randy Orton. He went on to do some things in TNA. But as far as WWE goes, his first big run, his final U.S. match was in Boston. And as far as WWE as a whole goes, his final match, period, was in Boston. So
And what was the trivia question?
that was it. If
Who-
someone
who
ever
was
wants
it?
to ask. Where was Hogan's last
okay.
U.S. match for his big first run? And where was his final WWE match ever? Both were in Boston.
Did you go to them both?
I was at both of them, yeah. I was at both of them. I'm a good friend of one of the Hulkster's best friends,
Who's that?
Pat Catino. Do you know Pat?
I know that name.
He
I probably-
ran some gyms in the area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a good friend to the boys over
Yeah.
the years. The Hulkster used to take good care of him. And I'll tell you this, and this is the side of Hogan I like an awful lot. When Pat
There's
rebranded...
one side you don't like.
Well, there are things you hear about business-wise over the years. You say, just what a scumbag and things like that. But from the personal side of things, when Pat rebranded his 2 gyms in the area, Hogan came up with his baggage handler, Jimmy Hart, and he did not 1, but 2 free autograph signings at these gyms. He didn't
Those were the Worlds or Goes? Worlds?
No, he
had his own?
was.
At one of them.
He was. I think it was Worlds. I think it was Worlds Gym.
Yeah, that was a nice one too.
I don't know if it. I don't know the whole story about how the franchising and whatnot goes, but he rebranded them by the city name. So in the afternoon, we did about 7. I helped Pat promote it. We did about 1,700 people. Hogan signed for.
Dang,
He stayed.
wow.
It was supposed to be 2 hours. He stayed almost 4 hours.
Really?
Then after it was over, got in the limousine, went up to Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and probably about another 1,200 fans showed up to that one. And he signed late. He stayed for everybody. I don't know if it's on the set, but he must have signed 20 of those 11 by 14 sized
Change the set
pictures
again.
for us for the toy drive and our charity endeavors. I thought he was fantastic. He was very, and it was tough to be personal, personable with the fans when there's that many. But you want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
And if he ever sees it, he'll probably be embarrassed. But do you remember the enhancement talent Mario Mancini? He was kind of a regular in the Northeast for a long time.
Dark-haired, well, of course he'd be dark-haired.
Dark-haired guy with a mustache.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I don't know why.
Thick,
Yeah,
medium
yeah, he
height.
wasn't in good shape. Yeah,
Well, no, not, yeah, I didn't mean.
perfect enhancement guy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly,
I know what you mean.
he came to the autograph signing and waited in the line to see Hogan. But I mean, we're talking about 2 hours. He's plowing through 1,200 people. And he wanted to sit there and talk to him. And the security guards, were, he wouldn't go, so they had to kind of push him out.
Was he already established as a worker?
Oh, this was in 2014. He'd been done for 25 years.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was that Signal 1, Jackie? Yeah, Signal 1. Thank you, brother. See, that's why we love Jackie. Nobody tells jokes and gives signals better. But so they pretty much had to throw Mario Mancini out of the autograph signing because Hogan was just too busy.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you got 1,000 people, that's just the thing. You can't say much.
I don't even think
Hogan. Other people are gonna be cussing.
Hogan didn't even realize it was him. I mean, it was pretty much,
Well,
hey, how
won't,
you
man.
doing? Hey, how you doing?
You
Hey, how
get
you
a rhythm
doing?
like that.
Hey,
You
how
really
you
do.
doing? Hey, how you doing?
It's just push, grab side, push, grab side.
And I would,
hey,
and again, you know
you're
what?
gonna get all of them.
Where there may be some things that we say that aren't the biggest or most complimentary towards Hogan, I want to pass along another compliment. The year before that, when TNA Impact, they did their Slammiversary pay-per-view up here, and they asked us to help promote locally. The day of their Fanfest, they invited me as a guest, and they didn't have enough help, so I had to wind up pitching in quite a bit. Hogan had his own private session that day when he was with TNA, and they had me do the printing of all of the fans. They paid like $200, and they got an autograph and a photo, and they had me do the printing. Well, I was probably from me to Hogan and Hogan's wife, who was just massaging his poor back the whole time, and Hogan again stayed a couple hours late. And then when he was done, I said, would you mind signing a couple of things for our charity work? And he goes, sure, brother. And and I gave him what we had. He goes, take, and he had these nice pictures. He goes, no, take these. And he probably gave a dozen pictures he probably gave us. So you know what?
But see, that's the one I know. That's
Business-wise, I didn't have to do business with him. I don't know. But personally, watching him interact with the fans, he's one of the finest I've ever seen.
He's and every experience I've had with him, there was it affected Shawn more so than me, but only time that I've actually, because you're going to hear stories. So a lot of people, if they don't get what they want out of a business negotiation, the other person's an asshole. That's just human nature, I guess. But the one thing, and it wasn't, Hulk apologized for it. It wasn't even on purpose, but it was right after, what was that, the Gulf War thing? It was during the Gulf War.
91
it
with
was during
Slaughter?
it, yeah, something like
the next
that.
year, yeah.
And that's what it was, building up for the Slaughter thing. And we were in a
I
room,
think that crossed the line a little.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we'll get there in 91, but you can
Well, no,
shave.
this was just me and Shawn and Beefcake and Hulk were in the room, and it started bombing over there, bombing away, and it looked like it could be over one day. It kind of almost was.
It was quick.
Yeah, and we're sitting in the room and we're hearing it on the news, and I think we was waiting around to go to the show, whatever it was, we was hanging out, and then Hogan's like, "Oh no, brother," and we're like, we didn't know, we're watching, we're doing good. Americans are, or whatever. I don't know if you want to say that's doing good, but they're
They were going over.
Yeah. And I think Beefcakes might have said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "Well, you know what they say, red makes green, makes green, to say." And he goes, "Need this thing to last till, was it WrestleMania that we're going to?
Yes.
Need it to last till," and
I love it. That's hysterical.
Yeah,
Only in wrestling. He wanted the program with
wanted the war to keep
with
going.
Saddam to go a little longer.
Yeah, just so WrestleMania would be a better crowd. But then, Shawn's like, "Fuck you."
Really?
And we all got quiet.
Well, and his dad was a military guy,
his
right?
brother was over in Riyadh at the time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Hogan didn't understand him. He looked at him, like, "You just gave me a fuck you? What?" And you see, Hulk starting to get bigger, and he goes, "My brother's over there right now, and you're wanting the war to last long?" And Hogan put his head there and goes, "I am so sorry. I didn't even think about that. I'm so sorry." I mean, he really shouldn't have been thinking about the other thing, but just because it was more personalized now, but he apologized, and that was that. And that's, that was the only bad thing I might have ever seen with Hulk. Everything else has been great, Precious man, for the position he's in. And like now, everybody that's had bad experiences with him will think that, "No, you're an idiot, MJ. You're an idiot. He's an asshole." I can only judge by what I've experienced, not anybody else's experience. And it's been like what you said. That's the Hulk I know. Put in the extra hours when you don't have to.
We've dealt with, as you know, hundreds and hundreds of superstars over the past 20 years, and like I said, he is one of the most gracious I have ever seen. Not to compare one against the other, but
right.
Back in 2007. At the very last minute, WWE and Lionsgate needed help here in Boston to host the premiere of Steve Austin's movie, The Condemned. And they came to their crippled old friend, Dan Marati. And Steve wound up coming in for the movie premiere. He watched along with the fans, and he did a Q&A afterwards, and he did some autographs and some photos. And he was nice to the fans, but it wasn't the experience that Hogan gave, I think, in my opinion. And that's nothing against Steve, because, like I said,
he's good too.
It was a theater with 200 people in it, and he tried to deal with as many people as he could, and and it was a different setup. It's not like they were sitting at a table like Hogan was in a confined setting. With Austin, when it was over, he was standing in the front of a movie theater. So he was kind of getting crowded, and so it was a little different. But
yeah, and that's always the thing too. The circumstances involved.
Right. That
day, you never know. What guys just went through what I went through last night.
Right. You can catch anybody on a bad day.
Right.
And you can catch anybody on a good day, I guess.
I was actually 3 weeks ago. I went through that. This is week 3 of today.
Oh, now I got you. All right. Now, 3 weeks ago you had a rough day.
We're coming up here.
All right, wrestling fans, we want you to have the best day possible. The best way you can do that is to join the growing family over on patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Check it out while we take this brief timeout. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marati.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the momentum here in Boston Wrestling continues as we continue to build and build and build. The fans want to know, how do we help? We subscribe to the Patreon, but we see all the great merchandise on that set. Coronavirus may have killed the nightlife, especially for someone like Marty, but our acclaimed eBay store is open 24/7 around the world.
Wow. Check it out.
Arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Get this limited edition collector's autograph print personally signed by two-time WWE Hall of Famer Nature Boy Ric Flair, inscribed 16 times for each of his recognized World Championship reigns. One of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Also signed by original artist Rob Schamberger. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome Ric Flair collectible for your wrestling collection now. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
Wrestling fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insiders. What are you doing over there?
I'm looking for my phone.
Well, it's right there. You don't, and especially now with that neon blue cover that you have. I don't think.
I had that for that very reason,
That's
so I
probably,
could see it from far away.
And I think you should get one that's glow in the dark at night, because I can see you losing it pretty quick.
I gotta get one with some GPS trackers on it.
Is it an iPhone or not?
No, this is a. What is it? Let me see. Not iPhone. I don't like them for some reason. LG 521.
I'll tell you that about. I don't know how many weeks ago it would have been based upon when this show is, but 2 or 3 weeks before the day we're taping this, that GPS tracker on the inside of it saved my life.
Really?
Because it fell out of my pocket in someone's car, and I didn't know where it went. And I went to the post office, I went to the supermarket, I came to the studio, I sat down at my desk, I took out the keys, I went to take out the phone, and I'm like, oh, where is it?
Man, that's
and
our
luckily,
life.
I was just, it was simple as going online, going to the website,
Yeah.
and it was able to find it, and they were able to bring the phone back to me. But anyways, as we continue to look at 1990.
They brought it back to you.
What's that now?
They actually brought it to you? Or you mean they found it for you?
No, it fell in between the seat and the side panel of the car, and they found it, and they brought it down here to the studio for me.
That's nice enough.
All was well in the world. As much as I would love to go without having the phone, you know there's always something going on.
Can't.
And, you know, when you have kids in your world, you worry that anything could happen. But anyway, to maybe freshen up the bottom of the card, WWF brought in Pistol Pez Watley and Black Bart at that TV taping we were talking about. Do you think that
was 1990?
January of 90?
Good God.
And you know, it was kind of surprising to me as a young fan where you saw Black Bart. I think he was a champion for world class
I think
for
he
the
was,
Von
too.
Erichs. And Pez Watley found some territorial success that I'd seen. I was very surprised to see them do so little in WWF, where they were all but, you know, the S.D. Jones and Barry Horowitz of that year, where they were just pretty much enhancement talents that almost never won.
Wasn't that later in their career, kind of?
It was closer to the end than the beginning, yeah.
Right.
Black Bart went on to WCW, I think, afterwards.
Well, they like you said, they both had good runs. Pez had pretty good down there in Georgia Championship, I think it was.
Yeah.
With against going up with, I think the biggest thing was the Buzz Sawyer feud, you know. But he was a big, you know, down there for us Georgia people was pretty big. Maybe it was just because it was on the downswing, you know.
Yeah.
the peak was over. Because they were both great workers.
Do you think it added credibility to having them on the undercard? Guys that were kind of known, maybe to a portion of the fan base?
Yeah, I mean,
and
I think
putting
it would
over
be
the WWF talent?
It's a solid, well, I don't know about that part. I mean, them working with each other would be
Oh,
great.
no, they weren't working with each other.
Well, if they were,
oh.
that would have been great for opening couple matches.
Yeah.
But if they were just used as enhancers, that's basically saying these guys are over, they're done, they're over the hill. But, I mean, you do that for house shows because not everybody sees it. And it gets the new guy and gets some really good experience working with a veteran.
Oh, with a young guy to be able to be paired with a Black Bart for a few months or a Pez Watley for a few months, there's some real value in that.
You're going to learn a lot. Yeah, it's a teaching.
That's what's missing nowadays. I mean, they don't, where WWE is such a youth-orientated company, they don't have as many grizzled veterans as they used to have back in the day that could, do 90-day house show loops with guys and really teach them something new or teach them different ways to work or maybe to think in a different way.
And it comes down to what I always say, which is all these different people opening schools that had one match on WWE as a enhancer, and then they open a school. You can't teach what you don't know.
Well, I can't wait for you to open your own school.
I can't
And I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to come down to, and when we do it, we're going to make a nice promotional video and we're going to air it on this show.
That'll work.
I really want this to do
well for you. It might be open. When is this show?
Well, God, the school might be already open for a few months at that point. But I know, from the bottom of my heart, I know that you can do so much for these young people that might not even be in the business yet, that want to get into this great industry, what you can teach them with the success that you've had in the business and the failures that you've had in this business. There's so much you can teach them. I think if someone is in the vicinity of where your school is going to be, it would be to their extreme benefit to heavily look into getting involved in it.
Yeah,
you know me. I am, when it comes to wrestling schools, I'm a prick. There's a lot of the wrestling schools detest me because I look at it like this: unless you, whether you were Hogan or whether you're talking about an undercard guy in 1990 like Pez Watley, unless you, in my opinion, worked in this business on a full-time basis.
Right, I agree with that.
You can't teach the wrestling business to someone that you never experienced or never lived.
Right, can't teach what you don't know. And
I mean, I can watch the show ER when it used to be on NBC. That doesn't mean I can teach someone how to do surgery. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like what we was talking about earlier, well, weeks earlier, I think it was. You get that psychology is the biggest part of pro wrestling. I mean, you can get a guy that can't do 2 moves, but know when and why, and those 2 moves are enough. The psychology is all the biggest part of wrestling. Anybody can teach arm drags, headlocks, and hip toss, or a slam even. One big move, a slam. There's a backstory on that, but later. When you travel 300 days a year, you're learning even better psychology because you're seeing different crowds. And like I said, this is the part I've told before. Different parts of the country, they react different to different type of matches. Some like groundwork, like wherever they got great college wrestling, say in the central United States with Iowa and all them. If you go down south or out in the west California, you got the luchador style that they love the most, and get an even mix more so in the northeast and down south. But you learn so quick from the psychology part of, what do these people like and how fast do I need to adapt and adjust. You can't teach that if you never experienced.
Right.
You read it in the book and then try to say, okay, well, you got to feel it. It's got to come from experience. It's called hands-on experience that you're teaching with. The only one way to get that, And I don't begrudge anybody that loves the business enough that they want to be a teacher, teach the guys.
I do.
But I mean, for that.
Because you know what the problem is? They send off people that are poorly trained and have a poor outlook, or maybe the wrong outlook on the business, and then the promoters are stuck trying to work with them, and then we're supposed to pay them to work the shows that they need work on to improve on. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they lost the race before it started.
Exactly.
And it's a rebuilding. You know, once you get somebody that's already being trained, you got to break all that down. You got to throw all that out. You know, and teach them right. That's why I say with my schools, we get the foundation, which is what you build on. You'll get that, and it'll be solid as a rock. And you know, other people send the foundations that was just thrown together overnight type thing, and you build up maybe 1 or 2 floors. That 3rd floor, it all comes down. It's no good. So that what I was going to say about it. I don't mind, you know, somebody loving the business so much as to want to do that. What I do mind is that they follow through with it, and now you're putting a bad product out there.
Right.
You're harming the business more than you're doing it good. But you know, it's been that way. Probably, hopefully, it's changing from here on out with what WWE's doing with the complex there.
Well, like I said, WWE, they're not taking people off the street. They're taking independent talent that's already been trained other places.
Right.
That's not necessarily always the case. You know, Jerry Briscoe was out scouting amateur wrestlers, and they find athletes from other sports that they bring in. And they do have some that they start from scratch.
That's a new thing, too. You know,
but I'd say at least 3/4 of the people that come into that building have already had pro wrestling matches in some way, shape, or form. So,
or they have that it factor. All they got to do is polish it, you know.
All right, well, before we go to the break, any memories of Pez Watley and Black Bart? In the ring, out of the ring?
Pez Watley one time was, you know, he was there towards the end. In the ring or out?
Either or.
Ricky Morton, remember Ricky from Orient Express? Man, he'll just say whatever's on his mind. Pez is on his deathbed, basically. I hate to say that. And Ricky walks in, you know, with everybody coming in, and you know, you want to give them encouragement and all. And they were good friends too. I said, but Ricky walks in, he goes, "Damn, son, I hope you made your peace with God. You look like shit." And Pez said he appreciated that more than anything, because everybody else had come in and said, "Oh, you look great." He said, "I know hell I look like death." But Ricky, but that was a Pez story. But otherwise, I loved Pez, man. We you know, we didn't really get much road time. I don't think we had one road trip ever. And that might have just been in town. He'll go up to the store to get something. I know we cut up a lot, because you know he was an amateur wrestler.
Oh, was he?
Up at Chattanooga, you know, UTC, and he helped, or he assisted coach there, because one of the guys I wrestled with in college went over there, transferred over there, and Pez knew him real well. But you know, in the collegiate style wrestlers all bond anyway. You know, just as pro wrestlers, they got that special brotherhood. And I liked Pez and Bart. We made a few trips. He was fun, man. He was a cut up, big old burly guy, man. You know, he was but he was fun. He was a lot of guys. I really have nothing that jumps out like this was extraordinary, except that Ricky Morton story, because people just don't do that. You know, they go up and tell the guy who's dead, "You look like shit. You make your peace with God." But yeah, there were two super guys right there, and you know, they must have been okay with that position. You know, come in and help out. Which I was asked that by John Laurinaitis. I told you. Did I tell you? I never told that. You know, after the match with
Angle.
Huh?
But after the Angle match?
No, after
La Resistance?
I think it was The Miz was the last one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did that thing with The Miz. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was when the ankles were a problem, and I wasn't moving good. And he asked me, like, man, he would have never asked me before that match to come be a guy to come help the talent out, the new guys out by coming in and working with them. In other words, an enhancer, a glorified enhancer, I guess. But I forgot where I was going with that one. But anyway, yeah, that was what Laurinaitis asked me after the match with Miz. He was, "Hey, would you mind?" And I mean, I actually wouldn't have mind doing that, but I wasn't with my ankles, and I couldn't stay in good shape. You know,
can't train right.
Right.
And I didn't want to, you know, visually be a piece of garbage on TV. So, you know, I told them, I said, I'm not ready right now. They actually appreciated I was honest with them. Said, look, I can't do what I should be able to do if I'm going to help these guys get better. And there's one thing, that's another thing I've learned from my schools is, and my students, most all of them would tell you that I was always hands-on training. And it will be as much as I can in the future. Sitting outside the ring and shooting the instructions is one thing, but when they're in there, you're doing it with them, they can feel it, it sinks in faster and more solid. So anyway.
No, once you decide to open up that school, you got a whole studio here we can use to promote it. It's a great thing.
I appreciate that.
All right, wrestling fans, we got the cue from Jackie the Joke Man right now. We encourage you to check out our eBay store. You can find the link in the description box below. Great merchandise with superstars of every era. You help keep wrestling legends working. You help us bring in more superstars. And you get an on-air shout-out from these wrestling greats. Be back after this brief timeout.
WWE is coming home to Kansas City with Monday Night Raw. WWE is back with Monday Night Raw in Kansas City, Monday, July 26th. Tickets on sale now.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
The Undisputed Era kicked ass and took no prisoners in WWE NXT. Now you can own this limited edition collector's autographed art print personally signed by Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. Also signed by the original artist, Rob Schamberger, one of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible for your collection now. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insiders. We hope you've joined Patreon, purchased some great merchandise on eBay, given us a big thumbs up for all the fun we're having tonight, and subscribing to the YouTube channel as I spit everywhere. The world-famous Super Chat
spit
button.
again?
I spit everywhere. Oh, really? Well, I'm gonna... And the Super Chat button, again, is open for those that want to help the cause and tip the bartender. Marty, let me ask you this. We've talked about the TV tapings very slowly following the Royal Rumble in, where was it? Fort Myers.
See, we ain't moved at all, have we?
Fort Myers.
We've stayed more on subject.
I know.
On topic this time than ever.
At the Wrestling Challenge taping in Fort Myers after the Royal Rumble, it was the WWF non-televised debut of Scott Hall.
That was?
Yes. Now, any memories of seeing?
That was a non-televised?
It was non-televised. He worked as Scott Hall. Any memories of Scott Hall then? Did you think, was he not ready?
Well, you already knew him from, you mean from there on?
Well, no,
you mean from Fort Myers?
Why do you think he didn't get a shot to come in at that point in 1990? Was he not ready for WWF?
I think whoever he worked with didn't give a good word. Who did he work with? Shit, I know. I remember that because it was Yeah, Scott and I were buddies from AWA. I've known him, and of course, Shawn and Kurt, and we all knew him. But somebody, it was a bad words, although something bad was said. I think it had to do with the match itself, or they thought he had a shitty attitude, something like that, which I don't remember. I didn't get to. You said that wasn't a TV. That was a regular.
It was just a dark match at a TV.
But it was like his tryout type thing.
Right.
And it just, from what I remember, it wasn't so bad. The match didn't stink, nobody was booing or anything. But it had to, somebody said something negative. That had some power, somebody, and it had to do with who he worked with. I think they said he was hard to work with, and he was attitudinal, and the combination just, that was his tryout match, and if that's the first thing Vince gets told,
it's not looking good.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years later, he would come back as Razor
I was going to say, how long
Ramon,
before he came back?
In '92, he came in as Razor, so 2 years after the fact.
Okay.
So he
never did. That's right. He never did nothing in Scott Hall, with his Scott Hall name. I mean.
Post WCW, he did. They came back as the NWO in 2002, and he worked as Scott Hall then, but not before Razor.
Yeah.
He went on to WCW as the Diamond Stud before he came in as Razor Ramon.
Damn, I forgot that too. Well, I mean, I remember it now. You said it.
It's a trip down memory lane on these great
Goodness.
shows. So there was some kind of an issue.
The things though, it was funny about memory is I would have, until you said it, I would never even remembered that. I mean, totally forgot that until you said it. It's like, oh yeah, that was a whole, I don't know about an era, it was a little while.
Well, for Wrestling Challenge, also for a match that aired during February sweeps, it may have been the first ever Shawn Michaels Bret Hart singles match when you guys were all still involved in tag teams. It went to a double disqualification when you and Jim Neidhart interfered. Any memories of the first time those two hooked it up, one-on-one, mano-a-mano, when one was a rocker and one was a member of the Hart Foundation?
I remember having that, but I'm trying to work. Do you have
it was a televised match on Wrestling Challenge for February sweeps when they'd give you some better matches from time to time, as opposed to just all squash matches.
I'd love to see that too. See how that was their first time singles.
I'm 99% sure
you
guys did some tag team matches the Thanksgiving weekend before, but as far as a singles match goes, this was the first.
I know we've done some tags, but I think that was the first single. I'd like to see how that went, because they now back then I saw Bret's biography, on A&E.
Annie's favorite cable channel.
And
Annie loves a little A&E.
I don't know what it stands for, but okay. Back in Denver, wrestling a sold-out crowd. But Bret had mentioned that he started out that he liked Shawn, and then other things got involved where he couldn't stand him. My memory, I don't remember he ever liked Shawn. I hate saying that. No, only just saying that I can only go by, Bret would tell me things. I'll just leave it at that.
Wait, what was that again?
Huh?
Bret would what?
He would just say, he would just see little subtle comments. You could just feel there was a little, maybe just a little animosity there.
With Shawn you're talking about?
Yeah. But
now this is back during the tag team days?
Yeah, during the tag team
really?
days, yeah. Because when I saw it on and I may be wrong, in case I am wrong, Bret, I'm not calling you a liar, but I saw like what it said on A&E's Bret Hart biography, where he had said that he did used to like Shawn, but I just don't remember when that
was. So even when you guys were tag teams, there was still a little tension?
Yeah, I don't even know any. Well, probably from from Bret, because Shawn never said anything negative about at that point. at that point, because later he did, but he never said, Bret's a dick or anything like that. Only scratched the surface of something like that. Would have been. We was all partying one night at some room. Well, actually, Shawn and I came in. We had just come in late. Bret was there, couple of other boys, and a lot of fans. Most of them female fans, but it was some guy fans. It was a big party, and as soon as Shawn and I walked in, Shawn had noticed that Bret's demeanor changed as far as at the party, and then I think I popped a bag of chips open to eat, and it made a pop sound, and I think I was standing close up to hear Bret say, "Oh, it's time to go. Here goes the Rockers." But I just, I guess that meant it was a derogatory thing, meaning we're going to destroy the place or something. I don't know, but I didn't take it offensive at all. But I think Shawn, from that point on, had, he didn't trust Bret. He thought Bret was two-faced, sort of. This is just what I'm, coming up with from what I've seen and what I remember. Because I think they had they must have had some kind of, I'm talking about Bret and Shawn must have had their own off to the side little differences or something. Because I really saw out of neither one of them anger till way later, probably what, I guess when Shawn was doing HBK and Bret had won the championship or something. Would have been around 95, at the beginning of that.
When they first had their program, or?
No, when Bret was champion the first.
Bret won the title for the first time in October of '92, and funny enough, Shawn won the Intercontinental title for the first time in October of '92.
I guess whenever it was looking like they were heading towards each other. I guess when all the animosity started.
Maybe towards when they main evented the WrestleMania in Anaheim.
Was that the one, the Iron Man match?
Yeah.
I know it was something.
I still think that match was terrible. I don't understand how people think it was a classic. I was bored to death.
How many hour matches have you seen?
I thought your matches with the Rougeaus were better
that's
than we had in Boston.
That's a great
All
thing
right, you know what? Fair enough.
That's the great thing about tag wrestling. You got 4 guys
instead of
to
2.
get it done.
Fair enough. It just wasn't my cup of tea,
Because it was real slow.
It was 45 minutes of rest holds,
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, and some of the best hour matches I ever saw were Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair at St. Louis Kill Auditorium. And I remember like an hour, they're going to go an hour through. And I'd watch it. The first, I knew their style, both of them, right? And watch that first 15 minutes, I'm like, fuck, I ain't gonna watch all this. But you just have to build a lot slower. You pick up the pace, like, picking up a ball rolling downhill, picking up momentum, speed as it goes. Because if you start out with a bang, you got 59 minutes left.
And I think the fans get bored with them too, because they know nothing of any consequence is going to happen until the end. Right? They've been groomed. I remember.
It's almost first half hours of popcorn.
I remember they did here in Boston. They did Bret and Ric Flair in a marathon match, and it was just. And they did. Bret won 3 to 2 falls, and the one at WrestleMania only had that 1 fall. And even that one was just a match I was looking forward to seeing. I was kind of bored with it. I'd rather see them have a kick-ass 30-minute match where you don't know.
I'm with you on that.
Where you don't know when the ending is going to come, and go from there. But again,
remember, like I haven't seen many movies lately, but remember like Dead Poets Society and movies like that were 3.5 hours long that you had. It was so great when it was over, but for the first hour and a half, you were like, man, I'm about to turn it off, and you luckily just stuck with it long enough. Like, oh, here it comes. Now it makes sense. Oh, that's because of that. Oh, okay. Now, that was great. But in the first 45 minutes, you almost didn't see the rest.
Well, and I mean, you hate to say it, but earlier in the night, and again, we fast forwarding quite a bit. Look at the reaction Warrior got in a 90-second squash with Triple H. The place went crazy. They loved it. They had fun. They were excited.
Triple H too.
What's that now?
He was doing the 90-second jobs with Triple H too. I knew he was doing them with Andre.
That was Warrior's comeback at WrestleMania 12 in '96 for a very short run. But he squashed Triple H in a short order, and the place went nuts. And as opposed to just that match that just went on forever, where they just did nothing. I remember it's WrestleMania, and I was reading the Boston Sunday sports page as it was going on because I was just bored with it. But one man's opinion. We'd love to know what you think, fans. As Jackie the Joke Man gives me the signal, leave your thoughts in the premiere chat if you're with us on Thursday night or afterwards in the comment section below. As always, we ask you, give us that big-time thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. Right now, we're going to take a brief time out. We'll be back with more Wrestling Insiders in just a moment. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marati.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the momentum here in Boston Wrestling continues as we continue to build and build and build. The fans want to know, how do we help? We subscribe to the Patreon, but we see all the great merchandise on that set. Coronavirus may have killed the nightlife, especially for someone like Marty, but our acclaimed eBay store is open 24/7 around the world.
Wow. Check it out.
At Night of Champions 2020, Tribal Chief Roman Reigns successfully defended the WWE Universal Championship against his cousin, Jey Uso, in a must-see battle. Here is your chance to own a piece of Roman Reigns moments before battle on this beautiful limited edition autographed 11x14 poster, direct from friends at WWE. It's number 19 of only 50 made. Includes WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself, suitable for framing and matting. You'll also receive a bonus Legends autographed 8x10 photo in an on-air shout-out on Wrestling Insiders as our thanks for helping keep Wrestling Legends working. Get this ultra-rare Roman Reigns autograph poster now. Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep Wrestling Legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. Dan Marati, Marty Jannetty here, having fun on Wrestling Insiders as the Party with Marty continues. Different look for the man this week. He's got the new shades. He's got the hat on backwards. He's a man of style, if nothing else.
But truth be told, I ain't moved until right there in my suitcase in 4 weeks now. Is this the third? Is this our third? This is the third.
I think, yeah. January 27th, 1990. It's the first televised Saturday night's main event of the new decade as Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior team to defeat Mr. Perfect and the Genius in the main event. Lanny,
sneak in there.
lifetime undercard guy, a man that didn't have to worry about quarantining alone last year. He was able to keep himself occupied in more ways than one.
You want to explain that to him?
Well, I think the fans that are longtime fans of the show know that Lanny enjoys a little bit of the self-service, the fellatio. You know, him and Annie could probably teach each other some tricks.
Did I tell y'all, though, that match in Denver, it was a sold-out
That's
crowd.
the new one now, Denver, and it was far from sold out in 1992. There was probably 2,900 people there for a classic match.
Where's this? For who?
That match you and Shawn in Denver.
That wasn't in 92, February. Oh, was it? It was, wasn't it?
92, yeah.
That's right, because we went into
Business was dead.
93 was that Rumble. But
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. See, it's good you got me around for something.
I could have swore that was trying to think. It felt full, or like
You could cut the electricity with a knife.
Was it even at McNichols Arena, or was it somewhere else?
That I don't know.
Because it felt full, but at McNichols you could see it all. You know, now that I think about it, on that show I told you where they've got that match,
Yeah.
it does look like a smaller venue on that. And I just figured it was because it was a home camera. You know, they couldn't get the whole crowd in.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got off A&E, didn't we?
We got. Do we have a guest? Oh, I think I know who that is. I can't see, but I guess he made it in. Someone very interested in meeting you, Marty.
Is that right?
Yeah. Very
Peace.
Peace. All right. Well, Marty, as we continue again, January 27th, the first Saturday night's main event on NBC of the new decade, and Lanny Poffo's in the main event. Did you ever think that you would hear those words?
Not as Lanny Poffo, but as a genius.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I like Lanny a lot, not so much.
I like Lanny, too. I don't like Lanny as much as Lanny likes Lanny, but that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. But I just never couldn't grab the whole genius. I mean, I understood it. I knew what it was. But I just,
was he a smart man, in your opinion? Yeah.
Very. That's why I think that's why they gave him that thing. And he would write poetry, really, outside of the ring. But it's just the character to gimmick yourself, the whole frisbee. I don't know. I guess to me that's I hate saying it because I don't want Lanny to.
You think it was a favorite of Randy?
Well, possibly that, but I think it was a solid. Open match.
Well, and for the majority of it, that's exactly what he was. He was either a manager or he was a first or second match guy.
That does not.
How he wound up, he worked Hogan in a singles match on the Saturday night's main event, ending '89. So I mean, he for a couple of months
looking good with it.
He got a good position in that managerial role almost, but that match was more, if nothing else, to try and build the tension between Hogan and Warrior. What did you think of that being set up as the main event for WrestleMania 6?
Which one?
Hogan and Warrior in Toronto.
I'm trying to.
This fly is driving me nuts.
Yeah, I know what they asked me twice.
This feels like that episode of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. But as far as that thing, I don't know, because which way did they end up going? You have to give me a little more to work with. Is that where Warrior won?
Yes. Well, we'll get to WrestleMania 6, but were you surprised to see
shit.
babyface versus babyface heading into Mania, world champion versus Intercontinental champion?
Only those two could have got away with it at that time, because that wasn't you didn't see that for a main event type thing.
You could see that there was something coming because, like we mentioned as we chronicled 1989, Survivor Series 1989, for the first pay-per-view ever, who ended the show? It wasn't Hogan. It was the match you were involved in with Warrior. Instead of Hogan posing to end the show, it was the Warrior doing his thing after your team went, even though you were eliminated, went over the Heenan family.
Was that where he took the tape and wrapped around us for about with the promo for it?
Yep.
Warrior.
Do you think, well, you know what, I want to delve more into the Warriors' title reign once we get a little closer, but at that point, do you think that was a solid main event, or do you think, would you have kept Mr. Perfect hot and maybe go with Perfect and Hogan?
That'd have been good.
They had some good house show matches, and they drew fair.
The Warrior and Hulk were blowing the ceiling as far as their popularity.
Yeah.
So and hadn't they already done the Mega Powers with Macho by then?
Yeah.
And him. So
that was at 5. Yeah. So that was the year before.
Yeah. So I'm thinking you couldn't do that again. Like here's the new, this year's Randy and Hulk. So I guess they got the idea, well, let's have them go, the two superpowers go against each other. But I can't remember the match now, how it went, or I know I watched it.
You don't have to worry about remembering the match yet because we're not at WrestleMania 6. I'm just wondering, that winter as the build began, just as a talent, do you think, if you had the magic pencil at that point, would you have gone with Hogan and Warrior in the main event? Or would you have groomed a heel for Hogan at that point?
I always think for the main event of a big thing, I would think you get a group of heel. And
Babyface and babyface is tough though.
Yeah, especially for the big show.
Yeah. I mean, the fans were torn over that one, but again, we'll go more in that direction when we look at the event itself.
Do you remember the match? Was it a good match?
The first,
I hate to say there's two non-workers, but those two non-workers in the main event.
I think with Hogan and Warrior, the first time you see it, it's really good. But after that, it's kind of like Hogan and The Rock from WrestleMania 18. First time you see it, it's really good.
I thought it was good, but that's the only time I saw it.
Exactly. The second time, it's going, but one man's opinion. As we jump into February.
By the way, I said non-worker for Hulk. Hulk works is the best worker because it's all about the asses in the seats, and that's the best worker you can be.
Not the asses in Annie's hotel rooms.
In Denver, I was the first one.
As we delve into February of 1990, the TV tapings, it's the debut of Akio Sato and Pat Tanaka, the Orient Express. Your old buddy, Pat Tanaka from the AWA, makes his way to WWF. Were you happy to see him debut with the company?
Definitely, and I'd known Sato from being over in Japan for so many times. So I knew he was a good worker and a great worker. Tanaka is a great worker. In fact, he's working some of my friends right now. I hope you give her some of that money back, Pat. But they were good as a team. Like I said, Sato was good, but Pat was just great. You could tag Pat with anybody. It's going to be a good team.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
I remember a good friend, the Jackal, that unfortunately passed away, a former commentator and a true wrestling historian. He called it spot on when he saw it live, that when they started to use Tanaka as an enhancement talent, in Worcester they did it, a Superstars taping, almost a squash match, 1, 2, 3 Kid against Tanaka that he said was just completely off the charts. Unfortunately, it was heavily edited once it made it to TV to put the Kid over. But live, he said, the unedited version of the match was out of this world.
I could imagine. Those two, oh, wow, they both do some stuff.
You and Pat have had some fun over the years.
A lot. Too much.
Too much fun.
At certain times.
A lot of medicine.
A lot of medicine back in the day. Too much.
A lot of medicine. I think you could make the Sheik blush on certain nights.
Did I ever tell you about the time we went 11 days? It was an 11-day tour. We pretty much, I think we took a nap on day 4.
There was that much medicine.
Yeah, it was
around the clock.
And we flew back home to Orlando. I was living in Orlando at the time. Flew back to Orlando, and because we weren't ready, the tour was over, and we weren't ready to stop. We still had. You can't just have medicine and put it in the cabinet. That's not what you have to do at all. And, 11 days.
How would you travel with cocaine on a plane?
I didn't say cocaine. I said medicine.
Well, you know what I mean. Well, what would you do?
Man, trying to get the police busted in here. Look, here goes a parachute.
Well, I think the statute of limitations have passed from 1991.
I got something in my pocket now.
No, you don't. No, but how would you transport it? I know Michael Hayes hit it in an anal cavity at one point, but
I don't know. That's him.
he looked like a packet of Kool-Aid when he burst.
You know what was funny? It was so prevalent in the. No, I shouldn't put it that way. Let me say it was.
It was prevalent. Maybe more than prevalent. Maybe you're underestimating it.
There was a time when you could, when we were on the plane, and you didn't have any, you needed it, because sometimes you needed the medicine to keep going. That was for real. That was why even guys that didn't really do, party too much, it was when they was putting us on the road 30, 40, 50 days in a row.
You needed a little medicine.
And they found out, the guys had never done it, found out, oh, this keeps me alert, you know, so everybody's, but you'd walk down the aisle of the plane and just, as you slowly like doing like this, and they called it I forgot, I think Jake Roberts, somebody called it, oh, you're doing the nut checker, right? Because you're looking back, you know, and it looks like you're walking down looking at everybody's nutsack, but you're actually looking down in the sock because there would always be a lump. Everybody had it down there. And
So that was the key.
And you see a lump, you're
It
like,
was the sock lump.
hey, come here, let's go run back to the bathroom.
Long before Mick Foley's Mr. Socko, you had the sock lump.
Here's a time coming back now while we're talking about hiding and stuff. Jake Roberts were coming back. I think I've already told this, but Jake Roberts came. We was coming back from Canada, I think, and you know, they sometimes they will and won't have the dogs out. They had them this time. And you know, Jake had it was as far as I know now, it was just a bag of weed. And one of the guys we're going through, and the dog is going crazy at Jake, and I'm behind him thinking, oh man, should I try to get it from Jake? And then they'll come from me. But the dog's going crazy, and the guy's going, Jake, snake robbers are going to this guy at him. And he goes, how you doing, brother? And he's shaking his hand. He goes, I don't know what's wrong with him. And he's pulling the dog back. And,
The dog was just trying to do his
yeah,
job.
he was doing his job. And the guy was getting mad at him. And he said, Jake's like, well, I got to hurry now. See you later. Get the hell out.
My favorite that the Sheik ever told was the time that on a
When he stuck his
trip
stuff in
to
somebody
Australia,
else.
well, that's a little further down the road when he was Colonel Mustafa, but during the Sheik days, he and the Junkyard Dog hid their crack rocks in the bottom of a bag of popcorn that the two of them shared on the way to Australia.
Damn, the creativity when it comes to certain things. He ain't got none of that in matches.
Now, can you
putting a match together, but it becomes hiding a little bit of yahoo.
Can you imagine now if that's a plane with 3 seats in the aisle, being the third person with the Sheik and JYD, having the popcorn filled with crack rocks on the inside of it, all the way from wherever they were going from to Australia. I couldn't imagine the Sheik on a normal day flying with him all the way to Australia sitting next to him. Never mind with a popcorn bag filled with crack.
Yeah, well, I've always said, bro, we are so lucky, the boys, so lucky that didn't have the cell phone cameras back then. We would have been in jail so much, or...
Can you imagine what social media would have looked like in '86 with some of the guys?
There would have been no WWF.
It would have been done. It just would have been the animals and the World Wildlife Foundation. Also in the February of 1990, we saw a bit of a transition, freshen up the tag team. As we mentioned, the Rougeaus hit the road. Jimmy Hart, of course, was the master, it seemed, of managing tag teams. He was given the formidable unit of former Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg was certainly a new look. It was almost like he was trying to emulate Andy.
When did Beefcake and him do the Beefcake
the Dream
and
Team?
Yeah.
That was 85 into 86.
Okay, so that was first, then came, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was on that biography. Man, that thing is, they covered everybody.
Why was the Dream Team on the whose biography were they on?
They were doing that was the Treasures. They were looking for the Treasures.
I see. Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense.
Beefcake, and they were looking for that robe, Hammer's robe. And
I'm sure Greg added a lot to it.
Did
Did he look a little down?
Was that?
Did he look a little down?
You know, he would have stretched the tourist face if you ever make him smile. His lips were so damn tight.
Well, it's like what Beefcake said in his book. There was only one person and one thing that he knew of that could make Greg smile.
Who's that?
You know who.
Go ahead and say it.
B.
And guess who went over that Denver match?
Well, you know what? I don't even know if I ever told you this, but we had a man, semi-challenged, I guess to be kind, Commissioner Von Johnson. He was actually the driver of our car when we got hit with the Sheik. He was the middleman between Annie and Greg. Anytime Annie needed to get a hold, because Annie was afraid that the wife would answer. So the commissioner would have to call Greg to set up ass-eating sessions.
And so what happened, that match went 24 minutes. We had the fans on their feet from the beginning to the end.
Rocking. But anyway, in all seriousness, what did you think of Greg Valentine and the black hair? You talk about a
Oh,
rib.
that was horrible.
Yes.
After getting to see him, even if you'd never seen him before, because he's just got that snook, that fish, like it looks like a snook. It just looks more like that fish when he had that black hair. I mean, after seeing him from when I met him, and I don't know, to that point, probably 10 years, 8 years. And we had a lot of road time together because we had a couple of friends in Buffalo that when we used to hang out with a lot. Because anywhere in New York, we'd make our way to them, or they'd make our way to them. So us, so we had a lot of time together, Greg and I, with partying and girls.
Now, Greg was a medicine man, the Sheik said. He enjoyed his medicine almost as much as his Boston visits.
As far as I know, he always did. I don't know too many boys. Yeah, I
It
guess
weren't,
I could.
like you said. It was very prevalent, the medicine.
Yeah, I'm sure there was I know there was a few, but it didn't seem like many. I mean, and the ones, no, I ain't gonna say that.
Oh, no, come on now.
No, it wasn't bad. I was to say, the ones that weren't into it almost seemed nerdy to everybody anyway.
Well, this is an interesting one. Again, we're kind of jumping.
Not to say the Rougeos, but
is that the second or the third, Joey?
Third.
That is the third.
That is unbelievable.
Actually, no, that's the fourth, because the last one we did was the third.
Yeah, he told you that. He told you that.
We jumped. We did extra.
Yeah.
We gave them overtime this episode.
Told you that.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to ask the question I was just going to ask
Save it
because
for the
I found
next-
it very interesting. Well, because we'd kind of be jumping towards 1994.
Oh, okay.
In a very interesting period in the business. But you guys get so much. If you want even more than that, where do they go, Marty? You know.
To the Patreon store where you can join for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
That was a very weak plea. You almost sounded like one of those.
I can't do it as good as you.
What's that? The ACPS commercial for the animals at Christmas time.
Oh, those
when
are
they play
horrible.
that sad music with some dog in a cage
And
that
they
hasn't
want you to
eaten in 3
donate 20 a
months.
month. They
20 a month, and
can't go 10 or 5. It's got to be. If I'm donating, why can't I name my price?
And you get the free blanket.
Yeah.
Or some
And
other
a
piece of
doggy
shit
hair
that you
and one
won't
poop.
use. All right. Oh, you never know where this show is going to go. Again, folks, give us a thumbs up. Join the YouTube channel. It's free. Share the link. The Patreon, you can give us a tip so we can bring you more legends. We got great merchandise on eBay that you can buy for your wrestling man cave and help keep wrestling legends working. They'll give you a personal thank you on the air. And, of course, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Early ad-free access to Wrestling Insiders, including New Jack, the final interview series, all 6 episodes.
For how much?
Less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Dunkin' Donuts, maybe not so much. But you also get our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD series, which has been seen by millions online, millions more on the Howard Stern Show, thanks to the Sheik. Patreon exclusive videos, and again, the knowledge that you yourself, that fine individual you see brushing your hair and brushing your teeth every day, are helping keep wrestling legends like Marty and all the other greats that come in this studio working. That's what it's all about. Patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Join the family. We want to keep his hair brown, baby. Browner than Annie's tongue. For Marty Jannetty, I'm Dan Ferrari.
And the Denver
We'll see you
floor.
next week. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Saturday, July the 8th, 1989. In the opening contest, Tim Horner, replacing Hillbilly Jim, beat Boris Zukov. Mr. Perfect with the win over Hercules. The Genius defeated Paul Roma. Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, victorious over Greg the Hammer Valentine. The Bushwhackers beat the Brainbusters. Superfly, Jimmy Snuka with the win over the Honky Tonk Man. And in the main event, WWF World Champion Hulk Hogan retained the title over Macho Man Randy Savage. If you were in Edmonton live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep wrestling legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times